Praise the Lord. I'm proud to be an abortion abolitionist. You know, we've had a discussion in recent weeks among national pro-life leaders about the basic question of the name of our movement. And I've often said that sometimes the name pro-life is too big for our own good. We know we are pro-life. We are pro-life consistently. We are pro-life defending human life no matter how or when or by whom it is attacked. We stand with human life because if you take away its protection at any stage of development, you endanger it at all stages of development. So we know, we are fully aware that the defense of life has to be consistent. But brothers and sisters, this movement that has brought us here to Washington close to January 22nd and does so every year as we march for life, and that brings us here now to this conference, this arose, obviously, from a decision that targeted the children in the womb. This movement called pro-life must never allow to be diluted or distracted the purpose for which it arose and the purpose it will accomplish, and that is to end abortion. That's our goal. We should be proud to be called pro-life. We should be even prouder to be called anti-abortion. You know, when Kristen first emailed me and told me that SFLA was going to give me this award, I emailed her back a note of tremendous gratitude and surprise, and I said I should be giving you an award. So thank you, Kristen, for your leadership as well. And in reminding me of that day when I took her by the arm to go out and counter-protest there at that National Right to Life convention, I'm pretty sure that was Bill Baird doing the protesting. The man is known as the father of the pro-choice movement for decades. He would come each year to the National Right to Life convention, and I was fascinated by the fact that he came. He has 3 Supreme Court cases to his name, all of which he won, securing the right to contraceptives for unmarried people, and on and on. But his case has really formed the legal precedents for Roe versus Wade. And I was fascinated by the fact that he was at the National Right to Life convention each year, so I befriended him. Now, it took a while to befriend him because for the first several years of conversations, it was really not a conversation, it was a monologue. You had to kind of stand there and listen to him go on for 20 minutes straight about how he's been mistreated by the pro-life movement. One day I asked him if I could come to one of the pro-abortion conventions, just like he comes to the Right to Life convention. You know what he told me? I'm not sure I could guarantee your safety. Tells us something about the difference between the two movements. But after a while, he actually stopped talking and allowed me to talk in the conversation, and the conversation became real. And then it became even more real as we began to share authentic concern for one another. And he said, well, you know, I'm concerned about you because people on my side of the fence, they talk about you, and I have to calm them down and tell them, you know, not to do any harm. And one day, believe it or not, I'm going to make this public because I never told any audience this before, but it is a funny story. He had been giving me for a couple of years advice about the security of our Priests for Life headquarters in New York. Yeah, you know, make sure the security cameras are high enough so that when somebody throws paint to block the lens, they can't reach it. You know, advice like this the man is giving me. And so the last National Right to Life convention, we're sitting at lunch together and with his wife, and he said, you know, I've told you, given you advice about the security of your building, but what about if someone attacks you physically? Do you know what to do? I said, well, not really. Well, you know, it would be great someday, you know, I was a boxer and I could show you some moves, you know, so I could show you some moves of self-defense. So I sat there and thought about it for a minute and I said, well, Bill, I have a little bit of time right now. We literally went up to my hotel room. The father of the pro-choice movement and Father Frank Pavone were in the hotel room. There was one other witness, his wife, who was sitting there saying, I can't believe this, I need a video camera right now. And he literally took me physically and he said, okay, attack me. And I'll show you what to do. Attack me. You know, it was unbelievable. We went for about 20 minutes. He showed me some pretty good techniques, actually. But the scene was just amazing. But that was the man. He's now 80 years old. He's still basically healthy. He's had some health challenges. But brothers and sisters, pray for this man. Pray for all those who are on the other side. Because, you know, Bill, you know, he'll often joke with me, well, you know, one of these days, maybe you'll come over to my side. And he says, you're not going to convert me to your side. But you know what? If we can sit down and talk, if he can realize that we respect his life as much as we respect the life of any unborn child, then in realizing that, he is coming closer to our side. Because our side has a message and a principle of respect for every human life. Ron Fitzsimmons is also a friend of mine. You'll recognize his name in the partial birth abortion debate. He was the one that finally admitted that the other side was lying through their teeth. And he and I had many friendly meetings together. And, you know, with our Silent No More Awareness campaign, which I was mentioned already, I know a lot of you on the campuses have the brave women and men of our Silent No More Awareness campaign come and speak about their abortion experience. Just yesterday, we had more than ever at the steps of the Supreme Court sharing their testimonies one after another for 3 hours straight. But at a certain point, our campaign got Jennifer O'Neill as one of our celebrity spokespersons. And although you're too young to have remembered how the men just swooned over Jennifer O'Neill and in her movies, but Ron Fitzsimmons wasn't too young to remember that. And he said, oh, you got Jennifer O'Neill as part of your Silent No More. Father Frank, you think I could meet her? I literally brought Jennifer O'Neill into Ron Fitzsimmons' office. We sat down together, we had a very nice meeting. Ron was never so nice to me after that than I could remember. His board kicked him out as the director of the National Coalition of Abortion Providers because they were afraid of what was going to happen because he was dialoguing with us at Priests for Life. But the man, again, it showed, you know, we have a common humanity here. And you don't have to actually get someone to change their position in order to connect with them on the level of that common humanity and give God a chance to do the rest, to bring them along, to embrace our position. Mother Teresa did this. I was privileged to know Mother Teresa of Calcutta. And she would just pick up the sick and the dying from the streets of Calcutta, and one day, one of those dying people said to her, "Mother, is this Jesus that you believe in, is he like you?" She said, "No, but I try to be like him." That's how she brought them to Christ. And that's how you and I do the same. Mother Teresa, I visited her in Calcutta the first time after, it was just a few months after she gave that famous speech at the National Prayer Breakfast, when the Clintons and the Gores were sitting there not knowing what to do, when she said the greatest destroyer of love and peace is abortion, and if a nation allows a mother to kill her own child, how can you tell people not to kill one another? How can you? And anguish against the shooting of children in our schools when you don't stand up for the rights of those very same children when they were in the womb? I said to Mother Teresa, "Mother, many of the American people loved that speech." Now, she was a feisty character. She said to me, "Oh yeah? What about the rest of them?" She said, "Father, I want you to spread that speech to all the rest of the American people." And she said, "Excuse me 1 minute." She went in the back room. She came out with a typewriter copy of the speech. I don't know if it was the same one she used that day when she delivered it, but she handed it to me and she said, "Spread this to all the American people." And I looked at it and I said, "Yes, I will. And we could even make it look nicer than this." And we've been doing that ever since. But you know what she said to me? It was also just about a month after President Clinton signed the FACE law. Peaceful blockading of abortion mills was now a federal offense. And I explained that law to Mother Teresa. You know what she said? "Father Frank, if we had that law here in India, I would have been thrown in jail many times. Because I go," she said, "I go to the places where they do the abortions here, and I take the women by the arm and I pull them away." We and our sisters will give hope to you and your baby. You see, brothers and sisters, abortion is not just a sin against life. It's a sin against hope. And the mission of our movement is simple. It is a mission to replace despair with hope. Women don't go to abortion facilities because of freedom of choice. They go there because of the coercive power of despair. And we are there to replace that despair with hope. We give these awards for leadership, and I'm sure all the other award recipients, not only tonight but in past and future years, will all agree with me when I say a lot of the secret of success in leadership is just being in the right place at the right time and ready to listen. God has placed in my life over these years so many awesome, profound people that I've come to know and that I just watched and listened to. It's all, when you're a leader, it's like, you're using borrowed material, that's all. You recycle it a little bit, put it in your own accent, but, just handing on from generation to generation the same principles, the same spirit. And so in that spirit, I know very well Mother Angelica of EWTN. So we're sitting down one day, and I said, "Oh, Mother, how do you do great things for God?" And she said, "Father, let me tell you something. So many people who are capable of greatness hesitate to act because they think they need to see what step 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 are going to be as the next 5 years expand. They need to see the whole path before they take the next step." She said, "No, the secret is walk through the door that's open right in front of you. Do not hesitate and do not feel that you have to see the full unfolding of the whole plan or know what's going to happen 5 or 10 years from now. We don't even know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now." She said, "Go through that door courageously and with a vigorous yes." And that's what she did, taking great risks. The theme of this conference, be courageous. Another way to say that, be willing to take risks. You know, we don't need tens of millions of people joining us in this movement to accomplish our goal. We need a relatively small number of people ready to take big risks. That's what it takes. That's why, as I think you realize, especially those of you, and I'm so proud and privileged and inspired every time I come to one of your campuses, or those on our pastoral team like Janet Morano, who co-founded the Silent No More Awareness Campaign, and Dr. Alveda King, niece of Martin Luther King Jr., and all of our priests and our pastoral team, Rachel's Vineyard, that's under our umbrella as well. We make all these resources available to you, and I'm so delighted when we're able to come to your campuses and see all this. But as you know, if you've had any of us come and speak, we present pro-life not simply as a cause, and it is the greatest cause of our day, or a movement, or a political ideology. It is all of those things in one way or another. But brothers and sisters, it's a spirituality. It is an aspect of our following of Christ, of our worship of God. Love of God, love of neighbor, means acknowledging God alone is the one who has dominion over human life and loving our unborn neighbor. One of the favorite stories I tell about time in front of abortion bills was one day in the Midwest when we were praying with a group, and one man had his toes over the property line. And someone in the abortion mill came out yelling and screaming, "Get your feet off our property!" I was leading the prayers, and I paused at that point, and I looked at this person and I said, "And when are you going to get your hands off God's property?" Based on the simple question of when does life begin, the questions at stake in this movement are far deeper. They go to the basis of who we are and whose we are. And we declare we don't belong to the government, we don't belong to our parents, we don't belong to the state or to the medical profession, we belong to God. That's who we belong. We continue in this movement, brothers and sisters, for as long as it takes. Some of the media were asking me in these past days, 40 years, isn't that a long time when you think you're making any progress? 40 years? We're well within the historical window of time that it takes to uproot deeply embedded social injustices. It took longer than that to switch our nation's policies on segregation. We are well within that frame of time. But we will do this for as long as it takes, whatever it takes. Just 2 years ago, Dr. Bernard Nathanson, one of the founders of the abortion movement, died. I had befriended him over the years, even before he became a Catholic. And I went to visit him just a matter of days before his death. He was in his apartment in Manhattan. He could barely speak. There, lying in his bed, I had to put my ear practically right up to his lips. And you know what the first thing he said to me was when I went into that room? "Father Frank," he said, "how goes the crusade?" Sounded just like that. "How goes the crusade?" Just above a whisper. The crusade. Here was a man who who was dying, obviously preoccupied with his own suffering and pain. But his mind and his heart were with you and with me out on the front lines of this crusade. And what comfort he took in knowing that we are out there on the front lines of this crusade, knowing that in some way we are making up for the evil that he knew he was guilty of. Let me leave you with these people. So many others I could tell you about. Pope John Paul II. I worked under him in the office at the Vatican that takes care of pro-life activities. We're able to meet with him regularly and talk about somebody who, well, who can forget his words at Denver at the 1993 World Youth Day. And you know, here he balances out the words of Mother Teresa, because we often hear Mother Teresa's words, we're not called to be successful but faithful. Well, what she means is, when you fail, you keep going. Don't be surprised, because failure is a part of life. We will win some battles, we will lose others. When we lose, like in this last election, we keep going because we're faithful. We never make failure an excuse for infidelity. That was her message. But John Paul, in speaking to the young people in Denver, gave us the other side of the coin, and these are messages that are completely consistent. He said, "Woe to you if you do not succeed in defending life." And that, brothers and sisters, is our battle cry. We are faithful in working to success, because only our success is how the killing stops. Let me give you, from these people, and from what I have learned from them, 2 additional simple pieces of advice. First of all, you are not simply future leaders of the pro-life movement. You are leaders now. And you are leaders now, among other things, because of the way that you help those of us who have been in the movement longer to think in straight and direct lines. Because very often, and you have to listen to those who have more experience in the movement, because there's a lot to be learned. But they also have a lot to learn from you. Don't be afraid to teach them. And the clarity and directness of your thinking, even in something so basic as, we're not just here to fight abortion, we're here to end it. You may need to remind so many people of that, even those to whom you look up to learn from. And do listen and do learn, but also teach. And here are 2 of the things, however, that if they try to teach you, I don't want you to listen. And I don't want you to learn. Here are the 2 things you should not take a lesson from those who have been in this movement longer. Number 1, when the otherwise wise guide puts his or her arm around you, takes you off to the side, and starts saying, in one way or another, cool off, calm down. It's not so simple. You've got to learn that it's not so easy as you think. And they will try to moderate your enthusiasm. They will try to turn down the volume. Don't listen.